Hey everybody, welcome back to the Java Game Archive. We're back with another video and another lost title on the J2ME platform. This one is one you should know. This is Ghosts and Goblins. This is a big release for a very little platform. So let's jump into the game and then we will discuss a little bit about it, how it came to be, and what it's all about. Okay, so let's jump into this. Once upon a time, there was a small and beautiful kingdom where people lived in peace. How sweet. But, ... one day, goblins from hell, it's a rough place, began to appear in the kingdom. They killed people and attacked the castle. I mean, this is right to the point. Sir Arthur, honored brave knight, fought with goblins every day. That's a rough gig. Even in restless fight, he spent his days of rest with his beloved princess. So it looks like there was a couple days off on a small hill, ... Then, ... ellipses, the movie. Okay, and then let's start. So you're going to notice a couple of things right off the bat, and that this is a pretty good looking and faithful port, I guess mini port of the original. There's Red Armor, or no, there's the devil, whoever. I guess it's the devil. Is it the devil or Satan? I think it's Satan. Comes in. Okay, so we have the game. A couple things you'll notice. Music, yes. There is the full Ghosts and Goblins track in here, which is actually rendered pretty nice in this version. You're going to notice a couple of things here. It is fairly accurate to the stage layout and location of the main, I guess, non-spawning enemies from the first game. I guess this would be more of an arcade version of the port as opposed to the NES or something else along the lines. Maybe the Sega Genesis one. I don't actually quite recall. For those of you that do know, Ghosts and Goblins is one of the most difficult games around, and this version on a mobile phone does you no favors. There's Red Armor, who just wiped me out. So I'm going to be editing a couple of these because you don't want to see 1,000 of my deaths. But it is hard. Now, while that is something in and of itself being hard, this is the only Ghosts and Goblins game that I think I beat from recollection. I think I may have come close on the Super Nintendo one because that's one of the only games I did have, and I played it a lot. But the basic controls on this are, as you can expect, on the keypad of a smartphone, of a mobile phone, of a dumb phone. 4 goes back, 6 goes right, 5 is your action button, which shoots, 8 goes up, jump, 7 and 9 are jump in those directions, respectively, and 2 is duck. And you are going to be using all the buttons. This isn't, while it is a single button shoot game, you are using essentially the entire keypad to get things done, because this is going to test you a little bit. Not as hard as the others, of course, but still pretty hard. Now, the most difficult thing with regards to Ghosts and Goblins here is the attack and the jump. The problem is you don't always attack. So you can smack that 5 button super hard and you may get one shot off. It may decide to shoot 2 or 3 like that, 2 in a row real fast for some reason. And then you may slam it and nothing happens. Right? This is the problem with a mobile phone, because it doesn't have these independent buttons in terms of presses. Right? So if you're pressing one button and you roll to another one, it might cancel out completely. So if you're trying to move forward, backwards, and hit that 5 button, the phone itself might not register that because they think it's a false press of some kind. So here's the first boss. Easy enough to get under his thing, but he's going to... Oh, no, duck. Yeah, get the knife. Get the knife. And I think... Oh, yeah, we got him. Okay, so we'll get him from there. You grab the key, and we move on to the next level. Now, what you're going to notice about stage design here is that there is only 3 stages. Technically, there's 6, okay, but there's 3. You have the village, you have the kind of tower, and then you have the castle itself. The tower is split up into 2. tower and the underground caves. These are all sections that you'll remember from the original game. Pretty easy to stand out if you remember that game in general. Now, going back to touch on the controls, they kind of work sometimes, they kind of don't sometimes, and I think that's your biggest problem here, because the game, while it is a little bit easier, isn't by any means a walk in the park like most mobile games we've seen on this channel, just in general. Right, most games you can kind of get through in 10-15 minutes at the most. They're super simple. You just play and move on. That isn't the case here. This is a game that you might have owned or can go back to if you have the capabilities, and might not get through it without spending a significant amount of time and effort into. Now, that was the case with the original Super Ghouls and Ghosts and Ghouls and Ghosts, Ghosts and Goblins, whatever the case may be. They are brutally hard. The thing about those games is that they felt fair in terms of their difficulty, i.e. you could see what was happening. Yes, the game was cheap. Yes, it threw a lot of enemies at you. But whenever you died, you kind of saw what you did, right? Maybe you had the wrong weapon at a certain second. Maybe you jumped into something blindly, or you can see yourself moving at it in that direction. You realize, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, and before you can adjust, you're dead. In this game, that does happen sometimes, especially with the birds on this stage that you're seeing that kind of come out of the blue a little bit. But more often than not, you're going to die because of the controls, and because you can't turn quick enough. If you're moving forward and you need to turn backwards and you need to shoot something, especially like here in these bird section, you might not register that. It might not click with the controller on the computer, and you're just going to eat it. Again, the game relies heavily on weapons. I don't know if all the original weapons are in this title, but most of the main ones are, including the incredibly terrible torch that I think, because of the way this game's a little bit slower, is more effective this time around than in other games, at the very least. So let's let this level play out a little bit and talk about the game itself. So this came out back in 2004, if you might have grabbed by the title screen. Was kind of a big deal. Capcom was one of the earlier games studios that was pushing things to mobile and trying things. At the very least, they had a catalog of games that could be shifted to that platform. One of the first mentions of this game comes back in 2004, early 2004, kind of coming off GDC at the time, GDC Mobile. Don't even know if GDC Mobile is still around, but Game Developers Conference Mobile. I think all of it is combined now, but I don't know off the top of my head. But Capcom announced that they teamed up with a company called Lava Storm Engineering to bring a number of classic games to your handset. Now, they made an agreement for 3 games in total for their first round, and those were Mega Man, right? You can imagine how terrible and painful that would be. Here we are moving into the next section. We're still on the same world, but we're going into the caves. Mega Man, Commando, okay, that could work a little easier, and 1942. Probably the best sort of game for a mobile handset, and even into the iPad and all those. Mobile games in general, when they're a shmup, tend to work a lot easier in terms of gameplay, especially probably even more back then when you had buttons left and right. However, they went on to say that they were also joining up to release Ghosts and Goblins into that lineup. Now, I don't know if all 4 of those titles ended up releasing together or around the same time. We know Ghosts and Goblins because we're playing it right now. Mega Man, I believe that did come out, and I don't know about the other 2, but we might be seeing them later if they did. Now, as for the company, Lava Storm Engineering, now that's interesting in a number of ways. They're a spin-off company. It was originally Lava Storm Analytics, based out of Massachusetts, and they were kind of a business analytics company, and they were looking to branch out, as a lot of companies did kind of in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. Companies would expand to other medias, and one of the medias that was kind of opening up was the world of mobile phone gaming. It was kind of the Wild West. Anybody could jump in and maybe make some money and then probably get out. So the Silicon Valley Lava Storm Engineering is known as one of the first companies working to produce mobile games, just in general. So they were one of the pioneers in kind of this field. A lot of people think Game Loft, while they were early, Lava Storm was one of the originators. And they did about 30 games for mobile phones, working with Java, the J2ME platform, as well as the Brew platform. Now, the thing about them and why you might not know who Lava Storm Engineering is because just about all of those games, minus a couple small cheapy ones, were all licensed games, right? So their name is probably in a game that you played back in the day. You just not know it because they weren't creating something brand new. They did stuff like this, Capcom stuff. They worked on Van Helsing. Remember that Hugh Jackman film? They also did probably one of their bigger licenses was with The Incredibles. Now, they came around and left fairly quickly. The company itself dissolved in 2005, and most of the developers on the team and that would go on to create another group. So that's a pretty short time span to create 30 games. And that's pretty crazy when you think about it. Now, you have to remember that these games were small, and a lot of times, originally when Lava Storm broke off, there were, I think, 3 people, right? There was a CEO, there was a director of wireless entertainment, and there was a single programmer, right? Known as a code monkey. It was one guy programming all this stuff. Here you see the boss, if you remember this boss. This is actually one of the cooler bosses. Even seeing it here is actually pretty cool the way it's done. So that's Lava Storm Analytics. They came, they made a bunch of games, and they said, peace out. This isn't working for us, or we're not making enough money. But we cleared that stage. Okay, so that's part 2. So stage 3 is the castle. This is the hardest stage, and you're going to see why for a number of reasons. It just does not let up on the stage, and I've been screwed because I got the torch, which is probably the worst weapon. If you do play this game, get the knife. It's like the old AVGN review, get the knife. Don't lose the knife until the very end, where I believe you're forced to get the cross, which I think is the only thing they can kill Satan. Is that how it works in the game? I think so. Not sure if you can skip it in this one, but you'll see. So I talked about the gameplay a little bit and how attacks are weird and don't always register. Now I want to talk about jumps. You're going to see when I come up these ladders, sometimes I'll be fine, but most often you'll see that. You'll see a jump happen at the top, and that's because the game has trouble registering when something starts and when something stops in terms of motion. So you're going to hold 2 to climb a ladder. Let's see if we can get there without dying. So you'll see 2 will climb this ladder and you can reach the top. Sometimes the first time you'll see nothing happens. I just stop, which is what you want. That second time, climb up, 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 and you'll continue to go up and jump. Now, it's completely random in terms of what we've done when we played. You can hold 2, or sorry, 2 is going down. You can hold 8 going up and let go right at the top, you'll still jump. You can hold it, you might still jump. You can do both of those, and you might not jump. You could also tap or 8 slowly to get up, creep up, 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 up. Do that last creep, you still might jump. The other 2 stages, not a problem. Stage 1 doesn't have any ladders outside that first section. Stage 2 has a couple, but there's no real flying enemies that are coming at you in arcs. This stage is different because now we have Red Armor that comes up here a couple of times. He's also on the edges, on the corners if you go too far. You also have these little blue dudes that are going to come flying in funny arcs. And those guys are the absolute worst, and they will become your nightmare. And on top of that, you have the ghosts that are flying left to right and shift up and down, who also decide to throw their arms or whatever attack either forward or either down, and they become a nasty problem. So this stage you can't really run through like you could in some sections of other stages. Things will kind of gang up on you quite a bit. And I know it looks like I'm going through this really fast, but I've had to cut a lot of this out. I literally played this game for quite over, I think, an hour and 45 minutes. And I'm someone pretty well versed in Ghosts and Goblins, Ghouls and Ghosts. Right, one of my games that I really enjoy playing, that entire series. And it took me that long to kind of even get to Satan. So at the very least, if you did buy this game, you're getting your money's worth. Thankfully, there are checkpoint systems, so once you make it halfway, you will be able to continue from there. And there are unlimited continues, thankfully. Now, you'll notice one difference. These levels are quite a bit shorter, and you'll notice there is a clock in the bottom right. So you have a timer to deal with. So while there is some cheesing that you can do, kind of getting enemies to come towards you or maybe taking your time a little bit, you are under the clock. So you can't just kind of sit around willy-nilly trying to wait for an opening. Now, if you see here, I got the final item, the cross. And this is the final area before the final boss. And it always drops a cross here for you. Now, you can avoid it, but I think it might be necessary to beat Satan. I think that's how it worked in the NES game. Was it a cross or was it a shield? Something like that. There was a special item that you needed. So you figure, hey, great, game over. This one was super easy. Hey, Nixon hands, peace. But no, you get to the final stage, and this is where I nearly lost my marbles. Most of my playthrough was here, and for a couple of reasons. Now, if you know who this boss is, a Satan boss, cool design, maddening to play with these controls that are not very good. So you can only hit him in his face, his upper face, not his tummy face. You can only hit him in his face. That's not a big deal. The problem is that to hit him in his face, something that takes me a little while to figure out here, his upper face, is you have to jump and throw your weapon. But if you jump and throw it, when you're going up, you're going to either miss him or hit the top of his head, and it's not going to count. You need to jump, and on the way down, release your attack, boom, to hit him right in the middle. That is a lot harder than it sounds to get done. Problem 2, this cross weapon does not have a great range, so you have to get up and close. So it's a real game of jump, avoid, back up, jump, avoid, back up, hoping you don't take those 2 hits. And a lot of the times, as you can see, because of this tiny screen, there is no indication which face is really going to throw an attack or how many they're going to throw. So it takes some great timing along with some patience. And of course, you pick up the weirdest looking princess ever, but uh-oh, she's gone. He's back, and he's going to say, tough luck, better luck next time. Come and get me if you think you can. And then, of course, the game resets. You do those 3 stages again, just much harder to get the true final ending, which, to be honest with you, I'm okay not seeing in this gameplay loop. So we'll leave it at that. So that's Ghosts and Goblins for the mobile phone, the J2ME platform. I want to thank you guys for sticking around for another long video, putting up with me and my little zoomy cat that is running all over the place here in my little home studio. I want to thank you for watching. If you want to support this show in particular and this channel, the best thing you can do is like, comment, and subscribe. That helps us quite a bit. We try to be active in the comments. And let us know, have you played this game? Have you tried out any of the other Capcom games? What game would you like us to find that you remember from back in the day? And for that, you know, we got another one here, Ghosts and Goblins, going into that archive. It's not online yet, but we're hoping to have an archive of all these titles that we play so we can try to preserve them the best we can. So until next time, stay safe out there, have a good time, and thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.